Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Family Law Assistance. My name's Michaela Wade, and I'm the co-founder of Family Law Assistance. Happy Thursday, everybody, and yay for me because I remembered actually what day it was. So I'm coming in live to you today just to talk a little bit about what exactly do we do here at Family Law Assistance. I mean, you'll have seen our social media flipping everywhere, and we've been hella popular all across social media platforms. But I just thought I want to take it back to basics today and just talk to you a little bit about what exactly we do. We help you represent yourself in family court. We are your arm around the shoulder. We get you those results without the hefty price tag. You know, it's funny, way back in the day, like when people used to get married, people used to only think they either got married in a church or they got married in a registry office. Why? Because there was no other option available. Here at Family Law Assistance, oh my gosh, 70% of people who now walk through the virtual doors of family law represent themselves. So the role of a traditional solicitor very often, especially in family court proceedings, has been diminished over the years. Of course, we've got things like Google to thank for. I mean, people are Googling everything. There's internet forums just dotted around everywhere. Hell, I'm in a couple of Facebook groups myself. And also you've seen that we've got our own page where lots of people are sort of messaging in, asking for advice. So this is a really different kind of help that's available for when people are going through court. Now, I remember way back when, I remember I turned up at the Royal Courts of Justice in London. And if anyone's never been to the Royal Courts of Justice in London, the place is like Hogwarts. I mean, there are corridors, there's so much mahogany there. You know, the thing is an English heritage treasure, but it's also super daunting. Now, the guy that I was helping, you know, he was actually he's pretty well known, so I'm not going to name him, but he was an intelligent, articulate, erudite person. You know, he would write for a living, so in terms of knowing what to say, this guy absolutely had it. But I remember being up at Royal Courts of Justice, and he was late, and then when he got to see me, he mumbled something about there being problems with the tube or whatever. And he was babbling. For somebody who did this speaking for a living and published in print, the guy was babbling. And I remember him babbling about something about being somewhere on the tube and it being late and all sorts of palaver. And when I looked closely at what he was wearing, that didn't even match up either. It was one of those, I am so sorry for offending anybody who had one of these in the 80s, but I'm just putting it out there. But he had one of those sort of 80s grey, shiny suits, you know the ones I mean. I think the mafia would use them. You know what I mean? The sort of the suit that you'd see in Goodfellas, except his one was nowhere near as smart as what you'd see on Goodfellas. But his was just a bit ill-fitting. You know, the tie didn't really go with anything. The shirt, did he press the shirt? I'm not sure he did. And then upon closer inspection, I looked at the shirt and I could clearly see that the shirt was literally out the packet. I mean, you can tell because it had one of those it had the creases in the right place, you know. And here's the thing about this guy, though. He was wealthy enough to have a solicitor, barrister, counsel. He didn't want that. He didn't want that. He wanted to have his say. According to him, the last time he rocked up to court with a solicitor, they didn't know his children's names. They forgot their date of births. And it seemed all a little bit rushed and last minute. And on top of that, he felt, honestly, like an ATM machine. Now, this guy wasn't short of a bob or two. He could afford it. And the other thing, the most important thing that he said was he absolutely wanted his own say. He knew his case. He was the case. He knew who, what, why, where, when, and how like that straight away. Now, all the solicitors in the world would not be able to calm him down. And he was a babbler. People feel better with a plan. And I remember after letting him babble about whatever mishap had happened on the tube, I remember just calming him down. We put a plan together and then walking through the cloisters There's actual cloisters at Royal Courts of Justice to get to our courtroom hearing. So here's what we do. We help you represent yourselves in court. It's a very different experience. People who often come to us, people feel better with a plan. So we help with the strategy, the process. Does anybody remember that game of Wipeout? Or am I just showing my age here? No? Comments below. But the game of Wipeout, you had to get from A to B, avoiding the dishcloths being thrown at you, avoiding that's what we do. We help you get through the minefield of family court. And it's not always about law, case law. I mean, I debunked some myths yesterday, and one of the myths that I debunked was that there's nobody in a wig and gown, okay, in family court. Hollywood has a lot to answer for. There's no gavel. In fact, there's no gavel. In fact, that was never used in the UK. So, the setting of family court is very different to what one might see on the television. So we help with the strategy, we help with the process, we help guide you through that process. But it's not just the law, the form filling and the strategy. Believe it or not, that actually is the easy bit. Here's the thing, especially about family law. It's emotional. It's your family. You are not going to get anything more emotional than your children and your lives. And what's even more bizarre is that most people that walk through the family doors today have not even had so much as a parking ticket, and all of a sudden when their relationship goes belly up, or when there's problem with accessing children or anything in that, all of a sudden you're having to address those issues in a very what can feel like a very adversarial arena. It's weird. Anybody that's gone through family court will know that dealing with the professionals, I say that in air quotes because although I am I'm not generally part of that clique. Family law assistance isn't part of that kind of what can definitely feel like a club, a clique, a culture. All the professionals that are talking, it feels like English. It doesn't gel like English. I mean, you see the words, I mean, it is English, but it doesn't relate as English. There's a whole jargon that professionals will use. Very often, one of the things that I'm doing in court and my team are doing in court is honestly translating what's going on, translating the ramifications. Judge might say something, magistrates may say something, legal advisor might say something, CAFCAS might say something, local authority might say something, and you have absolutely no clue what they said. To the point where often we'll come out of court and we've had a great result, but because the person that I'm helping didn't understand a lot of what was going on, would not get that. Very often, there's been times, certainly in the past, where I've walked out of court and my guys have gone, that was bad, right? I'm like, are you kidding me? You just walked out with shared care. So feels are very different to reals. And of course, that's going to be the case because this is your life. There's a whole jargon in court. And very often you will feel like you can't see the wood for the trees. Now, how we do that, of course, listen, I've been working in civil litigation myself for nearly 25 years. I know what you're thinking. My God, she doesn't look a day over 25. It's true, though. And my background in fact, family law assistance, the bud of family law assistance started way back when. I am, believe it or not, an ex-debt collector. I'm an ex-benefits review officer. I'm an ex-fraud investigator. I would always deal and always have done with really hard-hitting, controversial, tough roles. And the reason I've done that is because lots of people, I've seen people at their bottom, rock bottom. When I was repossessing cars and houses, it was never about the cars and houses that I repossessed. It was always about the relationships and how things went wrong. One party would leave and they'd have all of a sudden half an income. Throughout that process, of course, I met Stephen, the co-founder of Family Law Assistance, and for the last 15 years, we have specialised in family law assistance, and of course 15 years ago family law assistance was born. However, it was never just about law, practice, process, procedure, even though my career way back when that would have been my trajectory. I learned very, very quickly that all those books meant nothing when I'm dealing with somebody who's having an actual breakdown in court. Somebody that can't face their ex, somebody that's going through abuse, somebody that have had their children taken off them. The books meant nothing. What mattered was my client wants to know, are they going to see their children? Are they going to be protected from an abuser? Those are the key questions. How do they speak to professionals? How do they get their point across? How do they feel heard? A good few years ago, I became a master practitioner of NLP and hypnosis. And because I'm just that person, I decided to become a trainer of NLP and hypnosis. And I think that is really where family law assistance really came into its own. I was doing it before anyway, but now, of course, I've got the fancy schmancy qualifications to go with it. But family law assistance is that beautiful melting pot between law, process, strategy, but also coaching, knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to reframe for a client for the situation, knowing how to deal with somebody having a panic attack, knowing how to deal with, let's be honest, the kaleidoscope of emotions that are present when you're dealing with family law. And that can present in a whole bunch of ways. People get angry, hurt, upset. There's sadness, fear, guilt from previous issues. It really does. It is the Pandora's box, because you're not dealing with just the current situation. The child matters, the process. What you're actually dealing with is probably a long history of hurt that totally precedes the proceedings and totally will precede probably the relationship itself. So knowing that, of course, we're a franchise now. So we have a whole team of people spread across the country that are ready to help you. And that does one of two things. Now, way back when, believe it or not, it was just me and Stephen, literally, I kid you not, running around the country like a headless chicken. We would absolutely be driving around to all the courts in the country. We racked up about 2,000 miles a month. Oh, yes. Now we don't have to. Now we've got a whole team of people together that are there helping you. And these people are specially picked. We don't just take anybody. We've got a whole bunch of people who have lived experience, who have been in your shoes, who are strong, fierce, but also the arm around the shoulder. I'll always relate this story because when Jodie joined our family law assistance family, and it really is a family atmosphere. I mean, with the arm around the shoulder with the clients, and that ethos absolutely feeds through into our franchisees. But I remember Jodie's first case ever. She hadn't long been trained. And there, all of a sudden, she was dealing with a child abduction case at the beginning of lockdown, going to Royal Courts of Justice. Bless her, bless her. But I tell you what, I tell you this for Jodie, right? You put her in the deep end, she absolutely bloody swims. She literally banged on court doors. There's no bugger there, was there? There was a skeleton staff at Royal Courts of Justice, but she literally banged on doors to get that order. So when I say that we've got a team of fierce, passionate, determined, caring team, I'm not playing. We've got that team in place to help you. So we help you with your paperwork. We help you with the strategy. We help you with the stuff that the everyday stuff. Things like, and hey, if you know, you know, but things like, well, so-and-so, the other parent didn't fill out the communication book. If you know about a communication book, you know about a communication book. How many times have you seen a book, a parenting book, advocating parenting via communication book? Oh, that's right. Never. And yet, when you're in a family court, the bizarre suddenly becomes reality. And you don't have anyone else to talk to. Oh, sure, there's plenty of internet forums that will tell you potentially what you want to hear. You might have your friends going, there, isn't it terrible? But nobody actually knows. Nobody has walked in your situation like you have. It might be that you picked up your child, and all of a sudden the one parent said they have hay fever. Go and get them hay fever stuff, and everywhere's shut. What do? You don't want to be in breach of a court order. You want to make sure that your child is safe and secure. So all of those stuff, that the planning, the strategy, the day-to-day stuff, the joined up thinking. Spoiler alert, the magic never happens in a courtroom. The magic always happens in the prep behind the scenes. I know, doesn't sound quite so sexy, does it? But it's true. So what if you guys could go into court feeling confident, calm, having a plan? How'd that be? Guys, if this is you and you are struggling right now and you're thinking, shit, that's so me, then get in touch.